Hello, class. Welcome to our online session. Today we have our guest speaker, Jacob Stevenson, Reserve Engineer at the Cookeville Fire Department. And he's in charge of the social media there. And he's here to talk to us about emergency social media or emergency service social media.
All right, guys. Hi. It's nice to meet y'all, even though just over video. But I figured this would be something that you're not normally going to get in a social media class. So if I was going to start, it would be the reasons why emergency services need social media and other local government facilities. So a big thing is over the last couple of years, there's been a big change from traditional media to online sources. So we're able to reach more people and get information out to everybody instead of just those that have newspaper. A lot of people don't have cable anymore. So we're able to reach everybody, whether they have that or not. Most people have it on their phone, check it every day. So
You know, I
it's a
think I
good
think
reason to.
that's an important point too. The fact that people can check it anytime, whereas the traditional media like newspaper, even on the news, sometimes there's a time delay. And social media really has this like instant impact that you can have.
Yeah, and a big part of this is I work in a city of has a population of around 30,000 people. So we're not terribly large, uh, but there still is a lot of people out there, and we have reasons to get media out to them. And we don't have a big news channel even in our area. So if we do need to get information out that way, a lot of those news companies don't find our problems important enough sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, or not that it's not important enough, but a road closure doesn't make a difference in our city to the people in Nashville.
Hmm.
So uh, another thing is there's a lot of information out there. Our city has been hit by a tornado right about 3 weeks ago, and also right now we're dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, and there's a lot of false information out there. So we want to be a place where all of our residents can turn to us and find true information instead of and not only is it true information, it's true information that affects them. Uh, when we
Yeah.
have any type of updates, like I said, we're not listening to what's happening in Nashville on the regular news. They're able to instantly see, where is our locations for testing? Where were our FEMA places of or FEMA housing and stuff like that during the tornado?
Yeah.
Stuff that affects them directly.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting as well because a lot of times when we think of social media, we think of this, everyone thinks of fake news, fake false information being out there. But then you guys have with your official page, the consumers can be protected and they say, hey, information going to this official page, this is information coming from city officials about our specific area. And so I think that probably adds this the ability to get official information out there quickly as opposed to maybe someone linking to an article and linking to say, oh, I heard through the grapevine that this person said this, where they can go directly to your page and say, hey, we need FEMA housing for all these people who lost their housing through the tornado.
Mhm.
Here's exactly where you need to go. Go to this website that's linked on the social media. I think that's a great opportunity that you guys have to actually be official in this area of like lots of news going around and different stuff.
Well, and one area where that came into play was we actually had FEMA agents come to our department say there are people posing as fake FEMA agents
Hmm.
out there trying to get people's information and scam them in some way. And we're able to push out their official information, and everybody knows coming from the fire department, our mayor, EMA, anybody like that, that this is an official account and they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's
So,
awesome.
yeah. So outside of that, one of the main reasons that we actually started a page was to make sure that our community knows what we do. Of course, they know we run fire calls, but a lot of people are still confused on that we run medical calls. We do lots of training. We have daily work like getting to know our city and the buildings in it, getting contact information for buildings, being prepared for any type of call in our city. And so through this, we're able to share what our department actually does with the community, which helps them figure out our worth. And it can lead us to being better prepared through a better budget, because that's how we get our money, is going to the city council
Hmm.
and saying, hey, we need this or this or this. The fire department doesn't make any money. So if our citizens know what we're doing, then they're able to talk to their council members and say, hey, we would like you to give more to the fire department or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing that's pretty much the reasons why we use social media. And like I said, it's been something of an evolving process. It started out more just to show the citizens what we do and be able to get out information that people weren't getting at that point. And it's just evolved as we've gone along and needs arise.
Yeah. It seems like social media for these emergency services or public services really seems like a great addition to traditional ways of reaching, the citizens of the city or town that you're in. I know, like personally, I don't really know much about the police department or the fire department from my local area, and I think I actually just went out about a couple hours ago and I added them on social media because I knew we were going to talk about this, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh wow, they actually do have social media pages, and I'm learning all this information about them. And I mean, out before that, I just knew they were down the street and they'd come to my house when I burnt my salmon or something. So, well, actually, it was burnt grouper that time, but it was a fun, exciting environment having the cops show up for burnt grouper. I offered them some and they said no, but I think that's a great opportunity to really connect to those citizens. And I like your point about bringing in the city council and having the community be able to talk to the city council and say, hey, we know what our fire department is doing, and we want them to get more funding so that they can continue doing the great things that they're doing. And I think without social media, you're right, you might not, you only get those face to face interactions that you have, but with social media, you have the ability to interact with a lot of other people. And so you said, when did you take over the social media account for the fire department?
It's probably going on 2 years
2 years?
now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Um, and the other thing, talking about city council, is through these crises that we've had, our city mayor and county mayor have been able to do daily press briefings every day. And like I said, in a town of 30,000, we don't have our own local news agency. And those are a lot of briefings. So you have the ability to send that information out, even though if it's not going with the news cycle or you're not getting the newspaper until the next day,
Yeah.
something along that
And that
lines.
goes right along with the 4 P's of marketing, with the placement and just bringing in information needed when it's needed. And so, if you have a news briefing and people don't have the news turned on, then they won't be able to see that. But if they have social media, then they can watch it anytime they're free, anytime they log on to the social media account. So I think that's an awesome opportunity right there as well.
Yes. So just some things that I've learned since I've been in charge of this is number one is post consistently. This isn't my full time job as a social media manager. I work as a firefighter on the truck normally. And so sometimes it's easy to let the posting slip. But I have noticed, I'm sure everybody in here knows that Facebook has a super secret weird algorithm that it
Mm,
uses. And people can give you tips on it, but nobody knows exactly what affects what. But one of the things I found is post consistently. Even if you don't have a something to post today or this week, go ahead and post. That way, whenever you do have something to post, it gets seen by more people.
hmm.
Um, in our line of business, of course, we're all about helping other departments. We're not competing like in a traditional marketing stance. So a big thing we do is we share others' posts, like other departments' posts, and we tag them so that their viewers are looking at our post. And our viewers are looking at them and then they can see them as an ad. So I don't know if there's other companies that, if you guys ever get out there, like where you have not competing services, but services that go together, you might be able to help each other out
Yeah.
there.
And that goes. So I talk to my students all the time about link building. They're
Hmm.
probably all dying right now because I I talk about it too much. But this is a great example of like link building through social media, where
Hmm.
you're connecting and you're building. You're essentially relying on each other's traffics and each other's likes and your audiences to grow each other's audiences. And I think that's a great thing to do in social media, especially for emergency services where you're not really competing against anyone.
Well, and there's a great feature that was just added to the Facebook Page Manager app. As far as I can tell, it just happened. You're able to follow other pages as
Mm-hmm.
a page. So I'm able to get on there, and while my personal Facebook has everything and all that, and a lot of stuff that the fire department doesn't care about, I can go on the fire department's page and look at these certain places that I follow, and I'm able to look at them and say, you know what, that's something that the people who look at my page need to know also, so I can share it and do
Yeah,
that.
that's
Um,
awesome.
a big problem for somebody like us is we don't have a marketing department. So we've had to be a little bit crafty and find places where to find information because pictures do a lot to help post. And either it's something that we don't want to post a picture of, it may be something bad, or it may be something like
Hmm.
uh, COVID 19, where there's really no picture. I mean, there's one picture that everybody's been posting around
Yeah,
of what a virus looks like, I guess.
yeah,
I don't have a microscope, so I can't guarantee that's exactly what it looks like. But you need to be able to look and find resources that you can use that I'm trying to think of the word where you don't have to pay for them or
oh, of course I'm going free, but it's
or you can pay or whatever you need to do.
yeah, or
But
donating stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, having good pictures that relate to your post are a big thing. And
Okay.
luckily, we have resources like the NFA, which is a National Fire Association. Yeah, National Fire Association. And they have a bunch of pictures and GIFs and videos that we can link for fire safety too.
Okay. So that's awesome. So there's a ton of content already out there, and so you're recycling other people's content as your
Mhm.
own content. I think that's a really good point because a lot of people ask, like, where do I get content from?
Yeah, and I would recommend one of the first things I did whenever I took over the Facebook page was I followed all the fire departments I could to see
Hmm.
what they were doing. I mean, because as you go into different industries, you know, boating may have a different need, or the people who are looking at boating supplies may have a different, they may want to see different things than somebody in the clothing industry.
Yep.
And so look at your industry and look at who's doing good and see what they post and see how you can change that into yours.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I guess I just have a few final questions to ask you, and then we'll sum up. So I guess the first one is for the students. Is there anything unexpected that you learned in social media marketing since working on it? Something that you think would be awesome to share with students who might be doing social media marketing?
Yeah, the big thing is the algorithm
Hmm.
and posting consistently. I tried to read up on it. I couldn't find anything that gave me too solid of an answer.
Yep.
Um, but just you need to pay attention to your post and look at the at how many views you're getting and try to think to yourself, is there a pattern here? Well, I'm either getting more or less on this post.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's great advice. That's I think you talked about that a little bit in the beginning as well. So it kind of fits in perfectly. I guess the other thing is kind of building on that. Is there any kind of advice that you give the students when they're trying to learn social media marketing?
I mean, learn everything that you can in school right now because whenever you're just trying to Google it and
Yeah.
you don't know when this article was posted, how accurate that article is, and who wrote it. So try to take the information you can from reliable sources in school now and change that into change that
Listen to him,
into
guys.
actual things.
Read your
And then
PowerPoint
also
slides.
post consistently. I think I've said that
Yeah.
before. Even if you don't have anything now, it'll make sure that you have the viewers when you do have something important to post.
All right, awesome. And then I guess we're gonna sum it up with these final two questions, which they kind of go hand in hand. And one of them is, what is something that worked out really, really well for you guys that you'd recommend someone else to try? And the other one is, what kind of failures have you had that you've learned from? And could you share some of those experiences?
Yeah, a big part of one of our big things that have worked for us is we've been able to make news that was previously only done by reporters. We used to get the local newspaper call us, and they wouldn't call us every day. So we're able to push out what information we want and what information the public wants to
Mm,
know from us,
yeah,
and not waiting on somebody else to decide whether it's worth it or not.
yeah, that's awesome.
And then failure or a learning experience, I don't know. I think one thing we learned is I kind of took over from somebody, and I've also had people who wanted to help me. I think you really need to have a singular voice. I'm not saying that you only have to have one person,
Mm,
but you need to make sure that it seems like the same person posting every time, and that you have the same goal on the type of information you give
yeah.
and where you want that page to go.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. That's something I don't really talk about too much, but it goes right along with brand management. Making sure that all the posts that come out from the same account is it almost feels like a spokesperson, kind of like the fish or something. It's
Yeah.
the same fish talking every single time.
Another thing is just know that to keep post or keep your social media updated, it takes a lot of hours, and not only figuring out what you need to post, but setting up the post and having them being posted at the right time.
Yep.
So if you're getting into this, know that it's not just going to be like a side part of the job, because that's what I'm doing now, and it gets a little difficult sometimes to balance other responsibilities I have with this and be able to post consistently.
Yeah. Awesome. So I guess that's all the questions I have. Thank you for coming in and talking to us. It's funny because I look up there, it looks like I'm looking at you, but I'm actually looking at you and I'm doing this. You've been
Yeah.
down. You're on the screen the whole time. But so, students, if you have any questions for Jacob, just let me know. You can send them in text. You can shoot me a video, and I'll reach out to Jacob and he can answer those questions for you. He's done a great job. I hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast. So if you're at home, let's all give Jacob a round of applause. Thank you.
I
So,
appreciate it, Luke, for having me on here. And like you said, I'm more than willing to answer any questions I can. And if I don't know the answer, I'll do my best to figure it out.
thank you. Bye.